Zip here. I'm going to try to give you guys a little bit of insight into the IS-3 Defender in case some of you are wondering if it's worth the grind or the gold. Personally, I went with gold just because my new job doesn't give me enough time to be able to do the grind, so I figured may as well just bite the bullet. First up here, please notice that APCR is the standard ammo on this tank. Heat is the premium. For consumables, I'm using rations, speed boost, and multi-kit. For equipment, I've got the gun laying drive to help improve the aim time. The vertical stabilizer also improves aim time by reducing the aiming circle and helps with firing on the move, so both of those are worthwhile. For the third slot, I'm undecided. I'm leaning towards vents, but I'm also considering optics because the view range on the tank is rather poor. But the clip reload is pretty long, so vents would help with that a little bit. So I'm still not decided yet. So moving into some gameplay here. This is the 8th battle with the tank, and the new tank matchmaker, which keeps you from going into an upper tier or having to face upper tiers, has now worn off. So this is my first battle in a Defender against 9s. Up until this point in my 7 other games, I haven't had to use heat even once. So this should be interesting, I was thinking to myself at this point right now. The average penetration on the APCR round is 221, which isn't bad at all, and the heat's pen is 270, so also not too shabby. The base aiming time is 3.4 seconds, so that's why I elected to get the vertical stabilizer as well as the gun laying drive on there. Vents would help with that as well a little bit, in addition to ground resistance and the clip reload, so I'm leaning towards vents, but as I said, the tank's viewing range is a little bit short, so optics would also be another decent choice. The gun depression appears to be around 7 degrees, which is not bad, but you can still get yourself caught like I was right there, where I just didn't have quite enough to get the gun on target. The ground resistance on this tank is superb, and it really shows in its maneuverability on the battlefield. Here's a good example of the gun depression. There's no way I'd be able to get the gun on target on a standard IS-3. There's just too much of a hill there. The frontal armor on the IS-3 Defender is very good. I have bounced a lot of shots so far. Time between shots is about 7.5 seconds, and the clip reload, well, I'm about to time it here. Using this video's timecode, I can precisely, down to a very, very small time window, calculate out here exactly how long it takes to reload. Now I've got rations on my tank, so rations will affect the reload time. The stock reload time is supposed to be 25 seconds. I haven't timed that, but I can tell you that after doing this and subtracting the two values, 325.06 from the original value, we come up with about a 23-second reload if you're running rations. At this point in the battle, I see the T-95 coming. I try to track him, I failed, and I die. At which point I realized that the base capture timer is at 87. I was like, oh, okay, we might actually win this through a cap. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens here. All the reds are occupied. Who knew? That KV-4 who went the other way turned out to be a hero. Thanks for the win, Kevin2345. The credit earning of the Defender seems to be very, very good indeed. In fact, I'd put it in the top 3 premium tanks in terms of credit earning. So that was battle number 8, and now we're going to go into battle number 9. And lucky me, another tier 9 match. Woohoo! In all seriousness, the tank can actually handle 9s pretty well. It's got enough penetration both on the APCR and on the heat that really against 9s should do okay most of the time. We don't know yet if this tank has preferential matchmaking, so if we get the old +2 -2 matchmaker, if this tank sees 10s, might have a little bit of a harder time, but it's mobile enough that it should be able to flank pretty effectively. Speaking of mobility, watch the uphill speed here on the km/h counter. I'm going uphill at a pretty good clip here for a heavy tank. I'm overall very impressed with the ground resistance on this tank. It has lower horsepower than the standard IS-3, yet it's actually just as mobile, so it definitely has very good ground resistance characteristics. Just going to speed things up here a bit. No need to watch me drive the length here in real time. Not much is happening just yet in the match. I decided to come down to this end of the map just in case there's any red stragglers still here. Oftentimes I find there's, besides AFKs, there's a few tanks lurking this way. And seeing 2 of our 9s going off into the city, rather town, worries me a little bit at this point. I considered going down as well, but not knowing where all the red team is, it's a foolhardy thing to do, I think, at this point in the match. I'm finding that the .43 dispersion value on the gun is a little bit misleading. I'm actually hitting things at range pretty well with the gun so far. Maybe it's just because it's APCR and the rounds are flying so much faster than standard AP most of the time that they're hitting a little bit more consistently. It could just be that, or it could be pure luck. The alpha on the gun is great. Most of my damage rolls are 400 and up, although I've had a few low 350s, 360s and the like, but mostly I really like the alpha on the gun as well. So as I relocate to help out the ISU here, I decided to reload my magazine by double clicking on the APCR icon. I'd rather have 3 rounds when fighting in a magazine than 1, so I'm trying to keep it in mind and reload whenever I'm not engaged in order to keep 3 rounds in the clip as much as possible. Here I elect not to reload my magazine because I really don't know how many reds are over this ridge here, so until I know that, I'm not going to take any chances. This STI has the stock turret, which is great for me, bad for him. Also, shooting down from an elevated position is always a good thing. Keeps the angles nice. This is why one of the reasons why it's always good to be elevated, because when you shoot down, it's an easier shot. Of course, I missed that shot there, but that was all me, not the angles. I screwed that shot up. And coming up here is going to be my first use of a heat round using the IS-3 Defender on this E75. The hill here is blocking my view of him. As soon as I crest the hill, boom, there he is. And I'll take a shot of the APCR. And he's turning towards me, so I know I'm going to need heat here, so I switch to heat. And lower plate, and boom, got him. Another great opportunity to reload my magazine. Right here is, I think, where I lost the match. I'm looking for that KV5. I want that one shot, and I see this Ferdinand. I should have pulled back here, get myself out of danger, but I didn't. I get my one shot in, which is great, but now I'm down to one round in the magazine, and gotta reload quickly here. And I've got the phase 3, but I'm upset with myself that I got hit by that Ferdinand, and I keep thinking about that here. I'm not getting my head in the match, and ultimately I think this is why I'm making stupid mistakes like backing up into a round and now dogfighting with an STI. And here's one of those mental note things. Although the hit skin on the STI here isn't red on the top plate, it is probably best to aim for the lower plate. I should have backed up more and shot the lower plate. Stupid mistake, live and learn. So although it wasn't a win, I did make 20,000 credits from the loss. It would have been higher if I hadn't been using heat there towards the end, but c'est la vie. Battle number 10 finds us back at Canal, this time as top tier instead of low tier. I still like going to the southeast corner on Canal. I'm familiar with the territory. I like the hills. I think it's still the best part of the map, and I haven't had any problems really resetting the cap yet on any battles. But that being said, I haven't come across any red teams that have defended the cap using forward positioned tanks yet. So once I do encounter that, I'll make a final call as to whether or not maybe explore the other side. But so far so good with going this way still. Notice my hit points are low there. I did get shot from behind. The rear armor and side armor on this tank is not very good, so do keep that in mind. Always try to keep your nose pointed towards the enemy. The pike nose, of course, works beautifully to deflect incoming fire. The only thing you have to do is just keep your nose pointed at the enemy, and you'll bounce a lot of shots just by that means alone. Not every shot, but a lot of shots. I find a slight amount of wiggling back and forth will fool people using auto aim. It'll help deflect a greater number of incoming shots, but even just sitting still, as long as you're pointed towards the opposing shooter, should bounce most of the time, as long as you're not angled slightly. Even the slightest too great of an offset, left or right, can make you very easy to penetrate frontally from tier 8s and especially 9s. So do keep that in mind when you're angling. The turret from the front is very, very good. I've yet to be penetrated in the turret when facing the opponents. The rear of the turret is like butter. The front of the turret is very, very good. So hurrying back quickly here to reset the cap. I'm surprised how many teams don't actually try to line up here and defend the cap. This little drainage ditch is just so convenient for resetting the cap if you're fighting in the southeast corner and somebody tries to start capping. I've never had a close call here so far, but that being said, with a little bit better opponents, that could be a different story very easily. But until it becomes a problem, I'm just going to keep doing what's working. As this battle draws to a close, I'm not going to pass judgment as to whether or not this tank is worth the price of the gold to get it, or the time if you grind for it for free. I'm not even going to voice an opinion as to whether or not I think it's a good thing or a bad thing that Wargaming limits the number of units to 60,000. Quite frankly, that's a huge number. I don't see a problem with that per se, but just speaking about the tank, I like it. I like it a lot. I foresee myself fighting this tank a lot in the future. It's superb at earning credits, and its mobility makes it quite fun to drive. It's definitely a medium heavy medium, however you want to say it. It's certainly not a slow heavy like everybody feared it would be. So I'm quite pleased. Now, of course, I'm only 10 battles in with this tank, and I've already made up my mind, but really, at this point, I've played so many tanks in the game that I can tell pretty early on what tanks I'm going to like, which ones I'm not, and I like this one.